Hello and welcome to the One Life Church devotional series where we cover the entire Bible in 20 months. Well, I'm down here in the Western Cape. Behind me is Greenpoint Park. And if you listen very carefully, you can hear the noise, you can hear the cheering, you can hear the loudspeaker for the Cape Marathon, the end of the Cape Marathon. And what an appropriate place to be, and what a setting to have behind us to finish our 20-month series. So if you began with me 20 months ago, well done. You've covered every single chapter in the Bible. Now, if you started later in the series and you need to catch up, tomorrow an email is going to go out where I introduce you to someone who's been working behind the scene, editing these videos, and she will explain to you how to continue in this series. In other words, how you can start in Genesis now and catch up to where you originally began. So, chapter 3. Let's go there. We continue with this debate, this dialogue between God and Malachi. And he says, I will send a messenger who will prepare the way before me. Then suddenly, the Lord you're seeking will come in his temple. For he will be, verse 2 says, like a refiner's fire in a launderer's soap. So he's saying, I'm going to send a messenger up front, and then I myself am going to come. This was obviously the promise of Jesus. I, the Lord, do not change, he says in verse 6. So you, the descendants of Jacob, are not destroyed. If I change my mind because of the way you've behaved, you would be in massive danger. But he says, I don't change. You changing, I don't change. And so you can rely on me. Then he has this final argument with him. He says, you rob me. But you ask, remember, there's always the debate. You ask, how do we rob you? And he says, through tithes and offerings. He says, bring the whole tithe into the storehouse so there may be food in God's house. Test me, the Lord Almighty says, and see if I will not open the floodgates of heaven and pour so much blessing there'll be not enough room to store it. The tithe was something was first introduced when Abraham met Melchizedek. Remember, Melchizedek was a picture of Jesus without genealogy, a priest and a king. No one else was like that in the Bible other than Jesus. And so Abraham gave a tenth to him. And in so doing, he was declaring his faith in God, his dependence in God. So it was a demonstration of lordship. And that was then instituted into the law. And this is what he's referring to here now, saying the law dictates that you give a tenth of your income to God, and then God, you can trust him with the rest. It's a declaration of faith, a declaration of lordship. And then Jesus, remember when he was talking about the Pharisees, he says, you tithe, but you neglect justice. You should do justice and not neglect your tithe. So Jesus endorsed the tithe. And then in Hebrews chapter 7, he's described as the high priest in the order of Melchizedek, still receiving the tithe. So he says, so you might not like this. You might say, well, I don't really like this as an indicator of my spirituality. God knows that there's a very short line between our pocket and our heart. And he's basically saying it's not about the quantity. That's why it's a percentage. He says it's about faith. It's about trusting me. Or you're going to trust yourself. You say, no, I'm going to be in charge of it. God can be in charge of everything else, but not my money. And so this is what God does. He puts this in the very last book of the Old Testament. People getting ready for Jesus. One of the ways you get ready is you open up your heart and open up your resources. And then he ends, this is how the whole Old Testament ends. Then those who fear the Lord talked with each other, and the Lord listened to them, and a scroll of remembrance was written. That's why the Bible has been written, because God's listened to those who fear him. He says, I'm going to talk to them. I'm not going to leave them in the dark. They will be my treasured possession, and I will spare them just as a father has compassion and spares his son. Remember, he's talking to rebellious people here, a disobedient one. As for you, revere my name. The Son of Righteousness will rise with healing in his wings, and you'll frolic like well-watered cows. And then he says now this, remember the law. And these are the last words of the Old Testament. See, I will send the prophet Elijah to you before that great and dreadful day that the Lord comes. He will turn the hearts of the parents to the children, and the hearts of the children to the parents, or else I will come and strike the land with total destruction. He says, listen, because I love you, I'm going to send someone to prepare the way. And then Jesus is coming. He's coming to forgive you of sin, to save you, and to restore the whole of mankind to God again, like God originally intended it. What a glorious way to end the Old Testament. Well done for all of you who have gone through the Bible, and my encouragement is, as you start a new season now, find a good Bible reading plan and do it again. You could do these readings again if you wanted, but do it again. Go through the Bible. Make it a lifelong commitment to study God's Word, to bury it in His heart and allow Him to minister to you every day. Every day you've started a good habit, keep it going. For those of you who started midway through the series, we'll see you tomorrow with the ways of how to continue this Bible reading plan.